Features.
Hello and welcome to the Boxing Features Review Show, the weekly series where every week I take a look at the biggest fights that happened around the world over the past weekend. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for plenty more Boxing Features content, and without further ado, let's get to the fights.
Boxing Features.
So we start off with Sakyo Beaker versus Adam Stahl. That was the first fight I mentioned in the boxing preview show on Friday, and it just didn't happen. It didn't happen. It's been the weekend of cancellations. I must admit, there's a few fights that I spoke about on the preview show that didn't actually happen, and that is partly down to the world of boxing that is so uncertain, and it's just exaggerated by the uncertainty of COVID all the time now. So, apparently, Sakyo Beaker's fight was cancelled 30 minutes before the ring walk, which is never nice, and it was down to a medical pass, a blue book or something. I'm not too sure what that is, but it's something that they have to have in Australia, I'm understanding. I'm reading online now. But yeah, that didn't happen, which is an unfortunate start to what looked like a promising weekend of boxing. The next fight I spoke about on Friday's preview show did happen, and that was Danielle Scardina versus Nunes on the Matchroom Italy show. And I was impressed by this fight. I enjoyed it. It was a decent fight, and Scardina got a round 8 TKO. It was close at parts. You just felt like when Scardina was in mid-range and he was getting that jab off, he was dominant. But then Nunes was doing really well at just coming forward, making it an inside fight. But Nunes, I don't think, really had a plan B. He was very set in his way, and he was trying to fight economical. But Scardina, when it got to the mid-rounds, he worked out Nunes, and Scardina's shot selection was phenomenal. I was really impressed by Scardina's shot selection and accuracy, and it led to just a barrage of punches being thrown in the latter parts of round 8, and the referee stopped it. And in my opinion, it was a fantastic stoppage, and it was a good way to start boxing for the weekend. So then we moved to Saturday morning. I woke up nice and early to watch Joseph Parker versus Junior Farr. I was looking forward to this one, and it didn't really live up to my expectations because it was a bit scrappy and there was a lot of holding, but nevertheless, a good performance from both fighters. It was, in my opinion, very close, but kind of outrageous scorecards in my opinion, but we'll get to that later on. Junior Farr he showed he had something about him, which I was really impressed by, and Joseph Parker, he looked good, but not as good as he has done in the past, but I think that is ring rust from both men because they have been inactive. So we started off, Joseph Parker was doing well. He showed he had speed. He was going to the body really well. And then Junior Farr managed to carry on holding just under, getting Joseph Parker's head under his arm. And that made the fight really frustrating to watch in places, because when they did have a go at one another, it was really entertaining, but it was just a tad let down by the holding, which is never great, but two very good fighters fighting it out, and it was close. I wasn't judging this fight, and but I got the impression that going by round, I think Parker did win. I think Parker should have taken the decision, but he should have taken a very close decision, because in some rounds, especially the mid to late rounds, I'd say, Farr was working his jab really well. And then Parker would come on in certain rounds with just short little outbursts to the body, some lovely looping right hands. Yeah, I really enjoyed that when they weren't holding. But the scorecards, in my opinion, just weren't great at all. So we have 119-109 to Joseph Parker. For me, I can't see how they've got that. I really am disappointed with that. There's no way that there's a 10-point difference in this fight. I know you judge each round by round, but you can't have given so little rounds to junior fire, because a few of the rounds I thought junior fire won clearly, and then we go to 117, 111. Still, I don't think that's right. We might be getting a bit closer, and as I say, Joseph Parker, I feel may have edged it, but no, sorry, but no, not 117, 111, no, 115, 113. I think there's no problem with that whatsoever. 115, 113, close fight, proves it's a close fight. Yeah, but those first two scorecards were not great for me, and it was kind of a letdown to a good Saturday morning boxing for me. Anyway, we moved to Saturday, and this was a cursed show, wasn't it? It was really the cursed show. Originally headlined by Carl Frampton and Jamel Herring on this BT MTK Frank Warren show, you know, but obviously they pulled out with Carl with a hand injury. That's been rescheduled to early April in Dubai. And then the co-feature was meant to be Archie Sharp on that show. He pulled out through injury. And then they managed to secure Anthony Kakachi versus Leon Woodstock. It was going to be a solid Saturday night fight night. But unfortunately, as the week progressed, that did not happen because of COVID. Again, the world we live in was so uncertain through COVID positive tests and all that jazz. So we ended up getting what looked like on paper a below par show, but that's of no one's fault whatsoever. So I saw online people were giving BT, Frank, Queensbury some stick about this, but what can they do? Seriously, what can they do? They've worked so hard to put on a great fight night, and it just didn't materialise because of injuries and COVID. So, but it ended up, we got an absolute fantastic main event in Casey Khademi versus Ijaz Ahmed. And oh wow, I was really impressed with it. In the words of Josh Taylor, who was on the punditry team that night, it had a bit of everything, and it really did. There was wild swinging hooks, it was a nice skillful boxing at sometimes. They got on the inside for a bit of entertainment, beautiful body shots coming in. And again, it was a really, really close fight, really close, enjoyable fight, and horrible to score in my opinion. And the general consensus is there is a varied opinion online, but I've seen, I'd say a majority, might have been a slim majority, but a majority of people saying Casey Khademi won it, and I can see why, but Ijaz Ahmed did get the decision in the end. So the scorecards were 96-95 Ahmed, 95-95 a draw, and 96-94 Ahmed. And when they're that close, it's hard to say Khademi got robbed because it was a close fight. But you know, it's never nice when a lot of people are saying that the other fighter won. So it's a hard one, this one, but as it's so close, I'm not going to say it's a robbery or anything like that. But a lot of people saying it was a draw, but it would be a great rematch. It would be a fantastic rematch, because I don't know anyone who ended up watching that who didn't enjoy that, who didn't end up enjoying that, because it was a fantastic fight. And I know whoever did tune in on Saturday night at BT Sports would have wanted to see a rematch. And as we go down the card, we saw Tommy Fury. He got a round 2 KO stoppage of Scott Williams. And again, Tommy Fury, I said it in the preview show, he hasn't been matched of any high quality yet against anyone of a high level, but he hasn't put a foot wrong. He can only knock out the people that he's put in front of him. He's obviously 5 wins, 4 knockouts, I believe. And yeah, no, really impressed by Tommy Fury. His hand speed, his body shots. I love his body shots. Those 1-2 to the body, fantastic. And he's got some really nice hand speed. Really enjoyed to watch Tommy Fury. And it's interesting to see how they match him forward. Because personally, I think they want to sit on him, because he's a huge name for 2 reasons. The Love Island, it brings a whole other audience in. And the fact that he's Tyson Fury's brother. So I think they will want to take him slow. He's still extremely young, which I don't mind. But I'm really excited for when he does step up and see what he's made of, because so far he looks so good. He does look really, really good, and obviously Big John Fury in his corner, his father. Yeah, it's gonna be a rollercoaster ride, isn't it? His career, and I'm really looking forward to following it. From one close main event to another, this time in the US, it was Anthony DIRREL versus Kyrone Davis, and you know, what can I say about this one? It was another really good fight, It's one, just like Broner last week. It was one of these fights where Kyrone Davis was a contender. He's a good contender, but I thought DIRREL would be that class too much for him, you know. But I really enjoyed it. Did really enjoy this fight. It was really, really entertaining. And DIRREL was boxing really nice. I feel like he had the clean work, but then suddenly it would be Davis moving nice, and then he'd close in, go a lovely little combo, coming in, and he was landing quite a few actually. He was landing quite a few. I know some come off the gloves, but the way he moved around, moved in, come in, then suddenly at close range, pop, 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 pop. Loved it. Really did love it. And again, hard fight to score. Personally, I think DIRREL won it. And we got a draw here. We look at the scorecards. It was 113, 115 Kyron Davis, which, yeah, again, close. And I wasn't scoring it round by round this week because it was so hard to score. And I didn't want to take anything away from these judges because, again, it's such a hard job. Some weeks I will, some weeks I won't, by the way. 115, 113 DIRREL. So, again, you can't argue with these going either way here. It was close again. And then 114, 114. So, we ended up having a draw. And a lot of people online were actually saying DIRREL was robbed here. But I don't know. I don't know. DIRREL landed a lot of clean work. But when it was coming inside, we didn't actually see, or the judges wouldn't have seen live, how many punches Kyron Davies was landing. So I wouldn't go so far to say it was a robbery, but I probably would have edged it towards DIRREL. But again, an entertaining fight here. We're getting entertaining fights this year, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying all of the fights that we've seen this year. Just look at this. I know it was an upsetting fight, but Josh Warrington versus Lara, it's so entertaining fight. But it was an upsetting fight for me just because of the result. David Avanesian last week, brilliant. We've had Khademi versus Ahmed this week, and then Anthony DIRREL versus Kyron Davis. Hours in between these fights, and I just enjoyed them. I'm really enjoying the fights, and so many great fights are being made this year. And the pandemic has gave us fantastic fights. So I think boxing is in a really, really good place. And when crowds come back all around the world, we can really kick on from here. Really impressed by matchmaking all around the world. Just that's what I'm saying. Obviously, there's always going to be some bad matchmaking here and there. But the big fights, we're getting big fights, we're getting entertaining fights. So just thank you all to the big promoters. And finally, the biggest show of the weekend. Biggest show by far, saw Canelo Alvarez versus Avni Yieldrim for the Ring Magazine, WBC and WBA Super Middleweight Championship of the World. And yeah, again, it's just Canelo, isn't it? I can't put into words how good Canelo is. Just watch him. Just if you've never seen Canelo, first of all, where have you been? But Canelo, he's so good, and we'll get to him in a minute, but I just want to talk about the undercard. I said about it last week. Eddie Hearn, really good job, well done. Keyshawn Davis opened the show, round 2 knockout, really impressed by that. He looks really good, Keyshawn Davis, going to be a good prospect, again, really touted amateur, and he's certainly got the talk. He said he wants to be as good as Mayweather. I certainly hope he is, because that means we get some great boxing in the future. And then we had Aaron Aponte and Mark Castro, both moved to 2-0, and then it was Alexis Espina. He put in a decent performance to move to 7-0, and Diogo Pacheco passed his first real step up against Rodolfo Gomez Jr. So that was good. That was good to open the show. Decent US Mexican prospects, and always good to open the show with something like that, quality. Then we moved on to Zhang versus Jerry Forrest, and I said I thought Zhang would come through this one fairly easy, because I really do rate Zhang, I really do. But it was so intriguing, wasn't it? I really did enjoy this, just to watch. It weren't like this all-out action, exciting war, but it was just really intriguing to watch and just interesting how the fight played out. And I urge anyone who's just getting into boxing, watching this, who wants fight recommendations, but something different, not wars. Like, obviously, if I'm recommending fights, you've got to go to like your Gatti Wards and all of those big fights. And I might even do a video on that for anyone who's getting into boxing. But this is different, and it explains a lot about boxing, because this was a 10-rounder. And Zhang got 3 knockdowns over the first 3 rounds. So he got a knockdown each of the first 3 rounds. And it's a 10-rounder. So if that goes to points, it's virtually impossible to lose now. because now you're 6 points up in a 10-rounder. So, is it... And it just played out. Zhang just was completely exhausted after round 4, and he got a point deducted. So it made it so interesting, so interesting, because Jerry Forrest is a much smaller guy, but he began to box Zhang, and Zhang's just so exhausted. He completely emptied the tank in the first 3-4 rounds, and I don't know. Zhang's conditioning, I don't know whether that was faulty, but he's 37 years old, and he should be conditioned better than that. He hasn't had the hard professional career yet. I know he was a very experienced amateur, but as the commentators were saying on the zone, you look at the Klitschko's, they're heavyweights, who was just so fit at that sort of age, and you need to be. You really do need to be, because as the fight played out, if that was a 12-rounder, I'm pretty sure that Zhang would have been knocked out, because the last round was just awful for Zhang. He was suffering so much punishment at the end, and I was shocked he stayed on his feet for that last round. Obviously, so huge man, and it ended up being a draw, which is so irregular and rare to see. A fighter that's been knocked down 3 times get a draw in a 10-round contest. So please just watch this one and see how a fight can progress with the judging, the pacing of a fight, and yeah, it was just interesting. And Eddie Hearn spoke about a rematch. I'd like to see it, because Zhang needs to improve, and he will have demons from that, I believe, because he needs to know that he can go the distance with heavyweight fighters before he wants to move up. He was talking about Derek Chisora. Derek Chisora could just avoid those first 3 rounds, 3 rounds, wherever his pace is, and then dog him. And I think that would be Chisora's night. But again, that could be just an off night for Zhang, and he will come back stronger, better and fitter, I believe, because he is so talented and possesses so much power. And the punches he selected was good in the first 4 rounds, and it looked like to be a devastating performance. But again, he just emptied the tank, and he never got a second wind. So the co-feature in Miami was scheduled to be Julio Cesar Martinez defend his WBC flyweight title against McWilliams Orejo, and I was gutted just after the preview show got released. It was announced that Martinez had to pull out for injury, and I was so upset, because I love to watch Martinez. He's so exciting, and it would have just added that next level to that already stacked show. But I don't know how Eddie Hearn and Matchroom done this, but they managed to change the fight, so it ended up being Orejo versus Abraham Rodriguez for the WBC interim title, and then probably the winner was now going to go on to fight Julio Cesar Martinez, and Orejo got the stoppage in round 5. Good performance from Orejo, and now I want to see Orejo fight Julio Cesar Martinez. It was the perfect appetizer, really, because now I've seen Orejo in the flesh. I've seen him fight. Looks good, and now I want to see him fight Julio Cesar Martinez. In my opinion, he's a monster, and I love him. He's crazy. He's so entertaining, and another fighter you should definitely watch. Now we come to the main event, the pound-for-pound king, the Mexican hero, Saul Canelo Alvarez. He had defended his titles against Avni Yieldrim, and it was just it was just a showcase, wasn't it? It was just a showcase of how good Canelo was, and it's upsetting, really, that sometimes that we get these mandatories like Yieldrim, because don't get me wrong, Yieldrim's a great fighter, great contender, but he's nowhere near the level of Canelo, and he didn't pose any threat at any point. He barely landed a punch. I think he landed 1 counter left, which landed clean on Canelo's chin. But apart from that, I can't even think of any good shots that Avni Yildirim landed on Canelo, and that's I'm not putting Yildirim down at all, because that was his mandatory. He got into that position, and he fought Canelo, and he was just not on the same level, and probably a couple of levels below Canelo, because Canelo is a level on his own at the minute. He's so good. So good. You just watch him. His body shots. I love a body shot. I just love it. The use of the body, because it just breaks down opponents. And he does it the best. He just whips them in so fast, so slick, and it's just beautiful to watch. Absolutely beautiful, and it was entertaining. And we saw a great ring walk with J Balvin. He sung a song, and then he also sung Canelo to the ring. Fireworks everywhere, pyro, dancers. It was a fantastic show, and I think probably the ring walk lasted longer than the actual fight. Probably. Anthony Yieldrum retired in between rounds 3 and 4. The corner pulled him out, and I don't blame them. You want to see a fighter go out on his shield, especially in this huge fight like this. But round 3, he was knocked down once with a beautiful 1-2 straight down the middle. He was down. It was so slick. It was perfect. Timed to a T. It's what you expect from the pound-for-pound king. But I was so impressed. And again, people will say, yeah, but Anthony Yieldrim didn't pose anything. It doesn't matter. That timing and that position on any moving target is just amazing to me. And it just makes me wonder how a fighter can ever be that good. So, by the end of round 3, he was taking a lot of punishment, and you never know, do you? He may have come out for round 4 and been knocked out heavily, and you never like to see that, and he may have been hospitalised and may have never been able to fight again. I'm not saying that would have happened, but you never know. When a fighter's taken that amount of punishment and not really throwing too much back, it was the right call. And I don't want to say it because I don't want to say like, It's hard because as Eddie Earn said, you want the entertainment, especially when it's Saul Canelo Alvarez, the biggest name in the sport. You want the entertainment, but he took care of his mandatory. He didn't wait for his May or September date. He's fought in December, and now he's fought in February, and then now we know for sure, just fingers crossed, everywhere crossed, that COVID or injuries don't get in the way of this fight. 8th of May. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, and I cannot wait for this one. It's finally here, years in the making, and although I just said Canelo's on a level all on his own, the one who could pose him the most threats and has a chance, I still think he has a possible chance, and I can't wait to cover this fight. Billy Joe Saunders, come on, Billy. I love Canelo, but Billy Joe, I've followed his career. He's from the UK. I love him. He's just hilarious. Who saw the video this week with his apron, which is just Google that. I'm not even talking about that one. Just Google Billy Joe Saunders apron and you'll see it. Absolutely hilarious. And the mind games have begun already. Billy Joe Saunders, yeah, I'm just going there just for the payday, mate. No, he's not. No, don't be fooled by that. He is going to be ready. He's going to be crispy, going to be slick. He hasn't come out of camp really since the Murray fight in December, because he thought, we were praying that this fight would come off, and hopefully it can. It's going to be in America. It's going to be 8th of May, and I, for one, cannot wait. Quick little side note, I did say on my preview show that last week I'll be releasing my video on the best British fighter in every weight division right now. I've just decided to postpone that video 1 week due to there being so little boxing next week, so I wanted to not make this week's content too top heavy, so we can get some nice even content for next week. And so look forward to that one. That will be coming out next Saturday, and it's going to be a good video. I'm really looking forward to sharing my opinions on that one. And that is the end of today's review show. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. Let me know what you think. As ever, it's only my opinion. I hope you're enjoying these shows. I've had some good feedback, and just let me know any suggestions. I'm more than happy to receive them, and any even video suggestions. I'm more than happy to make these videos. I'm really enjoying this at the minute. Make sure you carry on watching. Thanks as ever. Boxing Features. See you next week.
Boxing Features.